Have you ever gotten a lab report back from your doctor and just stared at it, feeling like you're trying to read a completely different language? Well, today, we're going to fix that. We are decoding one of the most common, most important tests you'll ever see, the complete blood count, or CBC. And we're going to zoom in on the fascinating story your red blood cells are telling.
Right? You get that printout, you see all these acronyms and numbers, HB, HCT, MCV, and your eyes just glaze over. It can feel so intimidating, but I promise you, it's not some secret code. It's actually a super detailed report on the health of your body's most essential workforce.
And that's really our goal for this explainer. By the time we're done, you won't just see a bunch of numbers. You'll actually understand the key characters in the story and how doctors use them to figure out exactly what's happening inside you. So let's get started with the hero of our story.
All right, first up, let's meet that hero, the red blood cell. The easiest way to think about it is like a tiny biological delivery truck. It's one single, incredibly important job to pick up oxygen from your lungs and hustle it out to every single tissue in your body. No exceptions.
Now, the official scientific term is erythrocyte, and it's just this incredible little machine. What's absolutely fascinating is that when a red blood cell matures, it actually gets rid of its own nucleus. Why would it do that? To make more room for its precious cargo, a protein called hemoglobin, which is the real star of the show. We'll get to that in just a moment.
And think about this. The lifespan of one of these cells isn't very long. Each red blood cell works tirelessly for about 120 days before it gets retired and recycled. That means your bone marrow is a non-stop 24/7 factory pumping out millions of new replacements every single second just to keep your oxygen delivery service up and running. It's truly amazing.
Okay, so when a doctor gets your CBC results, the first thing they look at are two big picture numbers. These are kind of like the first clues in a detective story. They're called hemoglobin and hematocrit.
So let's break this down using our delivery truck analogy. Hemoglobin, or HB, that's the actual oxygen payload inside each truck. It's the specific protein that physically grabs onto the oxygen. Then you have hematocrit, or HCT. That tells you how much of your blood's total volume is made up of these delivery trucks. Is the highway totally packed with trucks, or is traffic looking a little sparse?
Now, normal can vary a bit depending on your age, your sex, and even the specific lab doing the test, but these here are the general reference ranges for adults. If these numbers are low, that's one of the key signs of what we call anemia, which is basically a sign that the body just isn't getting all the oxygen it needs to function properly.
And here's a brilliant little clinical check that labs use all the time. It's called the rule of 3. You take your hemoglobin value, multiply it by 3, and it should come out pretty close to your hematocrit percentage. So why does this work? Well, it's because in healthy red blood cells, the amount of hemoglobin they carry is in a very predictable ratio to their actual size. If those numbers don't add up, it's a quick flag for the lab that maybe something's off with the sample. Pretty neat, huh?
Okay, so we know if we have enough delivery trucks, and we know if they're carrying enough cargo. The next logical question is, what size are the trucks themselves? This is an absolutely crucial step in diagnosing the type of anemia someone might have.
And this is measured by a value called the mean corpuscular volume, or MCV. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the average size of a single red blood cell. So, is the factory in your bone marrow producing trucks that are too small, too big, or are they just right?
This one measurement gives us three main categories, three big buckets to put things in. If your MCV is low, the cells are microcytic, which just means small. If it's right there in the normal range, they're normocytic. And if the MCV is high, the cells are macrocytic, or large. Each of these points doctors to very different underlying problems. For example, if the cells are too small, microcytic, it's often because there's a problem making the hemoglobin itself. The most common cause for this, worldwide, is iron deficiency. You see, iron is a key building block for hemoglobin, so if you don't have enough iron, the factory just can't make full-size cells. Other causes can be things like genetic conditions like thalassemia, or even the effects of a long-term chronic disease.
Now, what if the cells are too large, macrocytic? Well, that suggests a completely different problem, usually with how the cells are dividing and maturing in the bone marrow. This is the classic sign of a deficiency in vitamin B12 or folate, because those are both essential for making DNA. Without them, the cells grow, but they can't divide properly, and you end up with these oversized, clumsy, and inefficient red blood cells.
Okay, so the average cell size is a huge clue. But what about the variety in cell size? I mean, are all the delivery trucks coming off the assembly line looking identical? Or are we getting a crazy mix of tiny smart cars and giant monster trucks all on the same road? This is where the red cell distribution width, or RDW, comes in, and it is such a powerful number. It measures the degree of variation or difference in red blood cell size. You can think of it as a measure of your factory's consistency.
Here's what it tells you. A normal or low RDW means the bone marrow factory is working like a well-oiled machine. It's churning out red blood cells that are all very, very similar in size. Doesn't matter if they're small, normal, or large, the key is that there's uniformity in the production.
But a high RDW? Now that's a major clue. It means there's a high degree of variation. The factory is producing a whole motley crew of different sized cells. This suggests that something is actively getting in the way of the normal, steady production of red blood cells.
And this right here is where it all comes together. The real diagnostic magic happens when you combine the average cell size, the MCV, with the variation in cell size, the RDW. This is how clinicians crack the code and can rapidly narrow down the cause of someone's anemia.
This combination of MCV and RDW, it works just like a diagnostic decoder ring. It's so cool. Let's take an example. Let's say you have small cells, a low MCV. If the RDW is normal, it tells us the factory is consistently making small cells, a classic sign of a genetic thing like thalassemia trait. But if that RDW is high, it means the factory is sputtering. It's trying to make normal cells, but it's running out of a key ingredient, like iron, so you get this mix of different sizes. Or look at large cells, a high MCV. If the RDW is also high, it points to the factory struggling with the blueprint itself. A vitamin B12 or folate deficiency is messing with the DNA, leading to a whole variety of big, malformed cells. It's just an incredibly elegant way to find the right path. And this is why it matters so much. The CBC is powerful because it's cheap, it's fast, and it's not very invasive at all. By properly interpreting these few values, doctors can narrow down the list of possibilities so effectively that, just like the quote says, more expensive or more invasive tests can often be avoided entirely.
And that's our deep dive into the red blood cell portion of your CBC. But we've really only scratched the surface. The CBC also tells a whole other story about your white blood cells and your platelets. It's just a great reminder that these numbers on the page, they aren't just data points. They are a direct window into the incredible, complex, and fascinating story of your health.